Hello friends, and once again welcome to bhpsolution.com. As we discussed in the previous session, we were working on Groovy script attribute dimension. So this is second part of it. In first part, I shown you how you can iterate through any dimension member attributes and display them. Okay, and subsequently you can display them. Maybe you can put them in data form or a smart list. In the same series, today I'm going to talk about how to display attribute dimension value. And today I'm going to use custom defined method. Quickly recapitulate. Okay. This is the class hierarchy and the class and the underlying method we were discussing, attribute dimension class, right? And other day we discuss attribute type, base member, get attribute dimensions. Okay, get attribute dimension, it takes optionally an argument, a Boolean type. So when you run this method, it returns a list type of object. Okay, so this code I executed last time, the Groovy code 1. When you run this code, this is a little sluggish. So when you run this code, it simply displays the attribute value. Maybe I show in PPT. Okay. This code we ran last time. When you execute this display attribute dimension, all the attribute associated with the dimension. So in our example, I use entity dimension. Let's quickly check. Entity dimension has got two attributes, market type and entity status. Entity dimension has got two attributes, market size and entity status. So when I run this code, it is going to display both attribute dimension, name, and index attribute dimension, and quickly run this code once again and see. And then we see next step, what after this. So far we retrieve attribute dimension. The code ran successfully and you can check the output in application job. Application job. So far we retrieve only attribute. Groovy script run one part, and since I display them, market size and entity status, they are two attribute. Okay, so far we did it this point. Today we will continue from the same point. And I'm going to use one more method over here called attribute dimension value, attribute value. Okay, attribute value. First I run this code and then I show you how to write the script. Now, if you pay attention to my script, this code is limited to only entity dimension, right? And there are multiple attributes it has. I'm going to pass argument only for market size is one of my attribute. So market entity status and market size, there are two attributes. I picked up one of them. And this attribute has got three values. But I like to display only those base members where attribute is small market or mid-size market or whatever it is. Under entity dimension, go to attributes, and there are two attributes, market size and entity status. So far I'm displaying only market size, this attribute. I pass one argument, market size, right? And market size, this attribute has got three value. When I click over here, I can see three value: small market, large market, medium market. I like to display only those base entities where attribute value is small market. Probably you can run this multiple times. I run it once, you can run it multiple times with different argument. In addition to small market, probably I like to display large market as well. Save and validate and redeploy this code. So the outcome of this script is when I execute this code, it will display all the base dimension member of entity dimension where my attribute is small market and large market, right? Let's run this code and check the output. I run this code and we check the output in application job. Application job. After this, we are going to interpret this entire code line by line, 12 seconds before the Groovy part 2 executed successfully. And what you see, these are two attributes. Look at this. I call this method twice. First, I call this method for anti-dimension market size attribute for small market. So entity 410 and 421, they are small market. And large market is 420, 422, and so on. You can pick up one of the entity and double check. 422 is a large market. Let's validate this manually before we proceed further in order to ensure that the code is working as expected. Dimension 422. Go to entity and search for this member. 422, right? Look at the attribute associated with this. Is a large market. Do you see that? This part got validated. It's a large market. All right. So now you know what does this code do. Let's create this code completely from the beginning. I'm going to create this code. Groovy Attribute Part 1. Groovy ATTR second part. So our fundamental script will remain same. Let's go to edit script and Groovy script. Let's interpret line by line this code. As always, you create an application object first. Application object operation dot application. Then I'm going to create cube object application dot get cube. And here you pass name of your plant type 1. Okay. And then I'm going to create custom method over here. So custom method or variables are declared with def, name of the method, get attribute details. Give any name, right? It has 5 arguments. First, name of application, name of cube, dimension name, which is string type, dim name, attribute name, string type, attr dim name, give some any name, and value of the attribute string attr value. Right. This is my custom defined method. This is the body of my method. Okay. So first I'm going to create an object for base dimension, and application object dot get dimension. Get dimension method takes 2 arguments. First argument is dimension name, the one I pass over here, right? Dimension name, and cube name, the cube object I pass over cube. So I got a base dimension. Then I'm going to create a reference for attribute dimension, and reference given over here with base dimension dot get attribute dimensions. As we discussed in previous class, takes 2 argument. I mean, optionally a Boolean argument. Okay, not 2 argument. So if I run this code, it is going to display all attributes. I don't want to display all attribute. I like to display only those attributes which I pass over as an argument, right? So I use a find method. Okay. So find method, global object name dot name, what you are trying to search. Same attribute which I pass over here, attribute name. Dimension name, attribute name over here. Attribute dimension name. This I pass over here. So it means if I pass, entity has got 2 attributes, market size and entity status. I'm going to run this only for market size. So entire code become dynamic. Okay. So I have an attribute dimension. Now I'm going to retrieve only those value of the attribute which I pass over as an argument. Okay. So I use label 0 member. You can give any name. I like to give a relevant name over here. Label 0 member, name of my dimension base dimension dot get value evaluated member. Since I like to retrieve only level 0 member, I pass level 0 as an argument over here. Okay. And I pass dynamic expression. Okay. Level 0 descendants. Level 0 descendants. And the argument I'm going to pass over, it's a variable in nature. What is level 0 member? See, so I'll pass as an argument with dollar name of dimension, dimension name. That's it. Then I'm going to pass, this is a string type. Make sure you put a string type. And second argument name of the cube object reference. So I got a level 0 member, but I don't want to display level 0, all level 0 member, only attributes of the level 0 member, right? And therefore, level 0 member attributes dot find all function I use once again. Global object name dot get attribute value. Which attribute value? The one I pass over as an argument. Attribute name, attribute value. Correct. So attribute name, attribute name, attribute dimension name dot name equals to the value I pass over here. As I suggested you previously, if you're finding entire code difficult to interpret, run line by line. Then I'm going to close this with the curly braces. So my method is ready. I want to call this method twice. Okay. So, and display this object. So once the method is ready, you can call it over here. You call it print ln twice. Okay. First argument, the name of my method, get details. First argument, application name, right, which I pass over here, app. First, what is an argument of application? App. Second, cube name, cube, object. First reference is name of your dimension. I hard code this is an entity. Name of your attribute is attribute name market size. Market size. And the value of your attribute is small market. Right? You can call it multiple times. Small market. I would like to call this method twice. That is called reusability of the code. Same attribute dimension, small market and large market. There are two attribute value I have. Large market, correct? So your code is ready. What you supposed to do next? Once your code is ready, you're supposed to validate your code and deploy your code. Okay. So ideally, if you're new to system and you're scared of, dealing with a lot of errors, so suggested you run the code line by line, as I always do. Okay. Let's validate this code. Save and validate. Validation is pass. Okay. Deploy this. I'm going to execute this code right from here. You can optionally run this code from data form, action menus, right? Business tool, REST API, multiple methods I taught you. Run this code and you see all those members where my dimension is entity, attribute is small market and value is, attributes is market type and value is small market, large market, application, job. The code executed 17 seconds before. Run this code and now check the output. See this. So what you get with the print expression? First, the print expression 410 and 4200, they are small market. These two entities are small market. And 420, 422, 430, 450, they are large market. Okay. You can validate this. Let's validate this to make sure our code is correct. So a small market, these three entities are small market, double check. And these entities are large market. Let's validate quickly. Unit test, smoke testing over here itself. So I go to dimension, entity dimension, attribute, what argument I pass over here? Let's compare the argument you pass over here. You pass entity dimension, market size, correct? And first is small market, isn't it? And second argument, large market, right? So I check what entity is small market. In our example, the output we got it, 410 is a small market. Let's double check. 410, small market. Is that correct? Yes, yes, it is. It is small market, right? So this test is passed. Second one is 420 is a large market. Let's check this as well. 420, edit properties, large market, right? That's it. Simple code. Same way, before you write a code, make sure you are familiar with the underlying the class, the methods, the argument, what does it return, what type does it return. Okay. I display the output simply through println. Subsequently, I'm going to show it to you. Rather than displaying this, you can display this in a data form. Probably you can use this as a conditional expression, a smart loop, smart list, right? There are multiple ways you can do the same thing. So that's it for today. We'll continue talking about with more advanced example of Groovy script. Should you have any question related to training and consulting, please reach out to BISP Consulting at bsptrainings.com. Thank you.